and admit everyone now.
And Lydia, I'm going to record as well. If somebody could make me co-host, I'd like to have the recording as well.
Right. In the breakout, you can also record to your local computer, please.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to Barbara. So we are in 3 different places. I think all participants are before, on time, or ahead of our time. So we will be starting shortly. We're still having participants joining in.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Wonderful to
Hi,
see
Brenda.
you, see
Yes.
some of you.
To get to know where are you dialing from, may you please type or rename yourself with a name, city, and country, please. All right, so it's 9:05, and we are in the room 19 of us. Yeah, shall we just kick started? We have ambitious goal today. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lydia, and welcome to everyone. These are the names of the participant registered, and hopefully all of us will be in the room today, and we will have a great exploration. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan. Selamat morning, everyone. Welcome to our IAF Indonesia Chapter dialogue with Barbara MacKay. Together, we will explore doing self-facilitation on our way to become facilitator in the next 2 hours. As we probably some just joining, let's get to know each other. Could you please rename for those who has not your name, rename by additional city and country where you're dialing from. So I think there are Nindi from India. I think yeah, Marcellus from Tangerang, Indonesia. So it's going to be very exciting. We will be all here together exploring and unfolding the future. How are you today? Type in the chat, or you can open your mic. How are you feeling today coming to this session? All right, good. I saw some hearts there. Yeah, energized or excited. That's great. So yeah, I trust that you have prepared your pre-work. Have you done that? That's great if you have. Right. So if you have not, don't worry. We will be exploring together in this session. So let's get started. I'm Lydia. I'm delighted to be your host today. And brief about me, been an international company earlier as internal consultant in OD in the role of HR, like leading conversations for people. And that's 10 years in my past experience. The past 4 years, I've been heavily doing it for external client. And yes, running my own company as consulting firm and one of the global coach in workbriefly.com, as you see probably in the flyers. Fun fact about me, I've just been awarded as Endorsed Facilitator from IAF. So I'm proud of me. So good credit for myself. Thank you very much. And I hope you will, some of you already been in like looking up to Barbara as master facilitation. So along the journey today. So yeah, so our facilitator, Barbara, of course, she's the master of a certified facilitator and has been full-time as adult educator and mentor coach to other facilitators since 1999 and 1995 with her company North Stars. And you can explore, with flow in that website. I really love it. She will retire full 2023, and she's the Barbara is assessor and for facilitation certification in IAF since 2002 and was inducted as in the Hall of Fame in late 2018. So let's welcome Barbara, and she's coming here in the evening for us for the next 2 hours. And we will be also together with the Indonesian facilitator that you will be accompanying in our activity. There are with all this official background, but maybe some are not. So we will get to know each other more later in the breakout room. So yeah, that's all. I would like to just take you with yeah, this is the co-facilitator, just to get to know everyone that we will be together in the room, as if we are in the dining room or in the lunchtime in the room in Indonesia. So next, shall we agree on community agreements? So just have a minute to take a look on that. If you have some thoughts you want to add, appreciate if we have our camera on. Definitely we will be getting to know more closer, but if you cannot, that will be also no problem if that it's not possible for you. Yeah, so anything you want to add from this? I think you can use raise hand. If you have questions, you can type it directly, or anything you want special to be in our agreement for this, the rest of 1 hour and 45 minutes. Yeah, don't yak mayam. So, well, be mindful that in our exploration today, there is something that is probably that I like most, but to some probably it's not. So yeah, let's be here together and learn from each other. So if you have any question, feel free to type in the chat. So I guess there is no additional to add on our agreements. I believe silence and agreement. So let's see what we will have today. What we will cover today together with Barbara on the agenda for today, the rest of the hours. Let me hand it over to Barbara. Over to you, Barbara.
Thank you, Lydia, and I appreciate. I think I'm going to ask someone else to screen share because I had a Zoom exit warning. So I don't want to lose that. So thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. And is there only 8 participants right now? Can someone tell me how many participants we have as of now?
Yeah, I think so, Barbara. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we'll go with that, and we'll see where we happen. But to start off with, I want to just bring your attention to the agenda. We're going to cover 3 tools, and if you could just go over to slide 6 first. And we'll just take a quick look at that agenda again, and just to remind you that this is the chapter from a book that I co-wrote with some other wonderful colleagues, and we've made the book free, and you can download the whole book. It's called The Power of Facilitation, and there's many ways of showing. Really, our intent was to have people understand the facilitation can be used in many different ways, and that we wanted to make facilitation a more widely known and used field of possibility for leadership. And so in this chapter, I really emphasized how to use some tools for your own growth and development as a facilitator and leader, and the importance of using self-reflection and self-facilitation. So before we introduce you to those 3 tools, we're going to go into breakouts. And we're going to have you answer these questions. So if you could go to slide 7. And so how do you reflect on your life right now? And what tools do you use to self-reflect? We'll have about 3 to 4 people in each room. And when you have your participants there, co-facilitators, please act as as participants, and just take about a minute each to answer those 2 questions. And if you don't have the Google slide link, we'll put it back in the chat. I'll just pop that back in the chat right away, so you can look at that slide link yourself. And if you cannot access them, for example, Michelle, I'm not sure you can access them. I'll give you an example. How do you reflect on your life right now? Somebody might say, I put on music and I just sit quietly and think about how did my day go. Or I journal about it, or I do a pluses and minuses after every big event that I facilitated. So those are a couple of examples. Thank you for asking that question, Bharti Maru. So let's take about 5 minutes in the breakout rooms, and we'll see you back in 5.
Oh, this is the group that already finished earlier.
Lydia,
The group which was most agile and fast, Melina.
Yes, and they Bharti learned a lot of things, right, Bharti?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
some new tricks.
All right. You're still on mute, Barbara.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. And for those of you who just joined us, thank you so much for finding us. And hopefully it wasn't because you couldn't find the link or something like that. And so we are going to, we've just had a small warm-up exercise thinking about the power of self-reflection and how you do it, when you do it. And these tools that I'm going to introduce you today We're going to actually go through and have some time to do reflection, but we won't really get through in a very deep way any one of the tools. My hope is that at the end you'll decide, oh, I really like this one, I want to come back to it. You go back to the slide deck and complete the exercise on your own. Lydia's just posted the Google slide deck again in there for those who've joined. And if Christina, you could share slide 9. I want to just share that the assumptions that I'm making about self-reflection in this chapter that we co-wrote together. This one is particularly on using the tools so that you can become a better leader and facilitator. And I think it's really important to just know that we all can become and imagine a better future for ourselves, for our loved ones, for the community and the world. And it's worth taking some time, not just on a daily basis, but some very specific time every couple of months or at least every year where you take a number of hours, a whole day, half day, whatever, this plan for yourself. And a plan can have many parts. But you need to visualize first this preferred ideal future. And then imagery is very important when we're thinking. It just, not words doesn't quite do it. So we'll see some ways to use imagery today. And then the other thing that I noticed for myself is the more I use the methods on myself, all of the facilitation tools that I have practiced on myself and with my friends and my family. And, you know, I can get quite well known for over facilitating my family. But the more you use them on yourself, the more you'll be able to facilitate with mastery and patience and compassion, because you can understand how they impact you and you can imagine how they might impact others as well. So let's just take a quick look at what we're going to do on slide 10. And then what we have here is 3 tools. And the first one is a mixture of 2 tools. One is collage, which most everybody knows about, but now we have a virtual world of doing that. Hopefully some of you, or maybe even all of you, did it as pre-work, followed by a conversation, and it's the top ORID method of conversation, just 4 questions that we'll do. The second tool is called PATH, and it's a Canadian tool that I learned way back in 1995, and it was used for people with disabilities, but now it's just worked not only with individuals but groups. I've taken my entire colleagues, friends, and people through PATH. And I just had one done for myself, and you can see it part of it on the wall here, which I'll just point it out a little better when we get to that. And then the last one is this this big workbook that I have here, and it comes from Grove Consultants in the USA, and you can order that. But there may be some digital downloads too. I forgot to check that out, but I did put a link to that. So as I said, we won't get through all of them, but we'll take a look at just a taste of some of them. So the first one is called slide 11, the collage and top focus conversation method. These are some very old collages that I did for myself on this slide, and then go to slide 12. I'm going to start us off with a guided visualization because that can be very powerful. It can tap into your subconscious mind, which is what you want. You want to be very relaxed when you're imagining the future. You don't want to just do it from a logical mind state. And so that's important to know how it feels so that you can do it for your participants as well. So I'm just going to take 2 or 3 minutes. So just sit back in your chairs. You can turn your cameras off. Just listen to my voice. Imagine some very soft, gentle music. So close your eyes, sit back, take a deep breath. And just know whatever comes up for you will be perfect. And I want you to imagine going into the future sometime 1 or 2 years ahead. We won't go too far ahead today. And it's, for 2023 and 2024 maybe. And you sense that things are better for you and your community and the world. And I want you just to take a quick look at where you live, the kind of environment that you've changed a little bit. you've been able to make it more ideal for your mind to be clear and calm. Just see a couple of spaces in your living areas. Maybe there's a move in store where you go to somewhere different to live. Just look around, imagine you can see it and hear it, the sounds, the lovely feeling of being in this beautiful space. Somehow it's better than it was before. And now go out into the workspace that you have. It's different as well. It's just fulfilling your needs. You feel you're able to contribute in a more profound and comprehensive way. You've developed some skills. You've got some friends or colleagues you work with that you love. And who are they? What are you doing? Just imagine that you're looking at your journal maybe and just noting all the things you're grateful for in your work now. Maybe you get to go some new places and have more balance in your life. And just take another minute to look at your health and notice that you're feeling better. What's different? Maybe you're just getting outdoors more. Maybe you're going for long walks with somebody you enjoy. Whatever it is, you just know that it makes your body and your mind better able to cope with everything that's happening in your life. And then finally, just take a quick look at your community and see things happening. You can imagine things have improved in the next few years. And just examine, explore what that is. You can tell people are happier. And when you're ready, just come back slowly to this current day, Saturday, and take a minute to write down. And you can keep your camera off for a little longer, but you can see where screen share just a little virtual collage that I did. You might want to just open up your computer, and if you've got your collage already done, just check it over. Is there anything else you would add? If you're using a piece of paper, just draw, doodle, very simple images. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to either pop in some virtual images to a slide somewhere. It doesn't, not this slide deck, but your own slide, and or some virtual tool that you've decided to use, or on a piece of paper. So we'll put the timer on for 5 minutes, and I'll call you back and see where you're at. Just maybe pause the recording. if we could screen share the slide 12 again. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Just adding new phrases, new images, imagining things going well in any or all aspects of your life and your community. I added community because I personally feel very concerned about the world and the community right now, and just because of all the climate disaster that's happening, and political unrest, and yeah. So I just want us all to think about our communities right now too. We got about 2-ish minutes left to add in any thinking about your future. What would you love? The question is, what would you most enjoy doing with your life and work in the next year? And well, I took you to 2024, so I'll say a year or two. We're asking everyone to do this because in just a minute you'll go into breakout rooms to share. Do the second part of this method, which is a conversation around your collages. And so even if you've got something really rough, hopefully you'll be willing to share it. And remember, pictures are really important to our minds, not just words. When you draw a picture, something more happens. All right. If you could give me a thumbs up or something like that to let me know if you are good to go, continue on to the next part of this tool, or if we need another minute or two, just so you can fill in a few more images or thoughts. I'm seeing 2 thumbs up. Well, while you're finishing, let's just take a quick look at the slide 13 rather. And that was an example I had just to give you ideas. I really want to get involved with ocean work and ocean pollution cleanup. And I don't know if it means I'll be involved in facilitating conferences. To put a little conference thing down here. I want to be out on the water. I want to eat healthy. I want to have my yoga practice and hiking and look at the stars. And those are things that are really important to me, be with my family. So those are some of my images. And what you'll do on slide 14, if we could share that, is your co-facilitator will help you and maybe ask you the first time, but one of you will show your collage either screen share or hold it up if it's a hard copy. And the participant or the co-facilitator will ask you, what do you notice? What are the colors, words, and shapes? What's the emphasis? What maybe repeats? What's the tone and feel of this collage for you? What's surprising? The ORID is marked on the side for those of you who want to know that the sequencing of this top focus conversation method. What pieces seem particularly important to you? And if you were to capture the feel of this collage in a phrase, what would you call it? Might be the name of a movie or a song or a poem or just a phrase that sums it up nicely to give it a sense of completion. Co-facilitators will help you keep on time, but you'll try to do 3 or 4 minutes each. And so we'll have about 15 minutes in our breakout rooms, and I'll be just floating around, taking a look at what you're doing. So enjoy that. If you have nothing to share, that's fine. At least a couple of you can do that and just inspire the others, or maybe you could even just share verbally what you would have as a vision, what you want to see going on in your life and your community in the next year or two. So Christina has set us up randomly in rooms again, each with a co-facilitator. So enjoy your new people. Some of you may be the same, but hopefully you have a couple of new people in your room. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. I hope everyone got a chance. And if you didn't, what I was trying to have you do is have someone ask you the questions. So if someone facilitates you looking at your own collage, you can discover things that you wouldn't discover on your own. So that's why I was having someone else ask you the questions and not just report. I mean, it was fine in a couple of the rooms I was in, you were just sharing what was on your collage and answering the questions yourself. But to have someone else ask you the questions can be very powerful. And that's what I wanted to do there. So thank you so much. Go to slides 14, 15, or 15, 16, or 17. And answer the question, what was helpful or useful about this process, the collage conversation process? So just pop your answers in there and just find a cell that nobody else is using. And if you cannot access the slides, put your answer in the chat and somebody will pop it into one of the cells for you. So that's slides 15, 16, and 17. So again, I'm causing you to reflect before we move on to the next tool. Yeah, we'll in just a minute. Once we get a few more answers, we'll screen share the answers, but we won't do that quite yet. Maybe just another minute. And if we could screen share slide 15, that's where most of our answers are. Thank you, Geeta. So yeah, there's some very powerful answers in there, and we won't read them all out, but it's good to just notice what the impact of doing something like that, albeit most of us didn't finish, and maybe you're still thinking about it, but really trying to show you that, reflect on everything you do and say, oh, how well did this work? What might improve? What was helpful about this? So let's just take a quick stretch break. We're not going to go away yet. I want to introduce the second tool, and then maybe we are definitely behind schedule, which I was kind of anticipating, but let me just introduce you the second tool. So feel free to stretch, take your eyes off the screen. It's first thing in the morning for some of you. And while you're doing that, you can stand up, do whatever you, let's turn to slide 18 and we can screen share that. But I'm also, actually, before you screen share, I'm gonna, could you maybe just turn off the screen share for just a second? Sorry, changing my mind. So this is a path that was just done for me yesterday by a graphic artist who's a friend, Rosanna Van Sacken. So it's an amazing tool. And then on the picture on slide, so now we can screen share again on slide 18, there is a group path that I did with a couple of co-facilitators. So just to give you a heads up about this, I'm going to go through this, introduce it quickly, and then we'll all take a proper 5-minute break. But on slide 19, it was developed by 3 or 4 Canadians in the 1990s. Jack Pierpont is the main author, and there was a manual produced. But if you Google path, you'll see all kinds of stuff on it. And I've got a little mini video on it on our website and stuff like that. But it was originally developed for people who had disabilities, physical and learning and mental health disabilities, and to support them to create their own preferred futures. And they would be taken through this process. And interestingly enough, that photograph on the previous slide was for a group that worked with people with disabilities, but we were working with their staff and their volunteers and that sort of thing. And so I use it all of the time for myself. I'll actually do it by myself. I will have a colleague facilitate it, especially if I want that colleague to know how to do it. And here is the normal practice is you have a graphic facilitator and you have a narration facilitator. So somebody who walks you through the steps. If you turn to slide 20, the 8 steps are there. And then the picture is a flip chart version of one of my earlier paths many years ago that somebody did for me. And so you start off on the right-hand side with the North Star vision, and that's not named after my company. That's what they called it, because as some of you know, that in the Northern Hemisphere, the North Star is sort of a navigational tool. That's why I named my company North Star Facilitators. And you usually do it 3 to 5 years. And then the second part, you go into the arrows, which are, over here. Could get a little scribble tool and just show you right here. These are the arrows. And in here, you put positive and possible goals to be completed in 12 to 18 months. And then you go way over to, I'll use the scribble tool again, you go way over to this section here, the now, and you say, okay, if I want to get to this future vision on the right-hand side of the page and the positive and possible goals, what's going on currently in my life? What's my pluses and minuses of the current situation? You do that fairly quickly, and then the next column next to the now says enroll. So who do you want to help you to move this dream forward? Who can support you? It could be actual names of people, like a family member, or a doctor, or you know, a webmaster, that kind of thing. Or it could be people that you don't know the name of yet, but you know what their role is. And then finally, not finally, but the next go to strengthen, which is the third column over from on the left-hand side. What do I need to strengthen in terms of my competencies, my skills, my attitudes to make this vision and goals happen? And then you go to the inside the arrow. I'll use the scribble tool to show you again. You go into this section here and you write down your 3 to 4 month goals that will get you closer to the 12 to 18 month goals inside the circle. And then finally you do 1 month and then first steps as part 7 and 8. It typically takes about 2.5 hours to do an individual path. And then it takes, if you're doing a group path, I would definitely recommend 4 or 5 hours. And what I would like you to know is that once you have had your path done for yourself, you basically have permission to do it for others. So what I'm going to do with you today wouldn't quite count. I think it'd be great, but you could use the whole process and have somebody facilitate you through a full vision. When we come back from break, I'm going to have you draw the image on page 21, or I imaged it on slide 22. But basically, I'm going to have you draw this image, and you can do that during your break if you like. But let's take 5 minutes right now, and we'll go through a few pieces of this when you come back. So let's pause the recording and come back in 5 minutes. So enjoy your break and drink some water and stand up or go away and draw this image if you want that's on slide 21. I'll set the timer for 5 minutes. And I'll just say, for those, just trying to get my, as we come back, I'll just say, I moved back to my home country almost 2 years ago. I lived in the United States after living in Canada for 45 years or so. And then I lived in the United States for almost 20. So I came back and everything was different. It's really profound to live in a country like the United States, which is very, very dominant in the world. And I felt a bit lost for a while. And I tried to do this technique, the path, a few times and not very successfully. And I did it for several groups. I did it for some Indigenous groups. I did it for some friends. I couldn't do it for myself. But having done this yesterday, having had my colleague do it yesterday, I finally feel like, oh, okay, I'm okay now. I've figured out what I want to do back in my own home country again. And it's just really profound experience to know that. So what I'm going to propose to you is that on slide 28, sorry, no, not 28, 24, is I'm going to take you through the image. So just quickly go back to slide 21, and we can screen share that if you like, and could be 21 or 22, but 21 is a little bit more graphically done. Draw the trick to drawing the path is you fold your paper in half and put the tip of your arrow right at the midpoint where that little crease is. So open the paper back up and then draw the tip of the arrow right at that piece, and then and have the arrow fat enough that you can actually write in. And you'll want 4 columns in the long narrow part of the arrow, and maybe a little clouds, or you don't have to have clouds, but inside the point of the arrow, then put like a half circle like we have where it says positive possible goals, and then leave a little bit of space on the other side for your vision. And you can come back and insert your vision that you just did. You might want to complete it, but just put some of the vision or words and phrases, not now, but we use the first exercise to get to do part 1 of the path, in a sense. I'm overlapping the tools. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is have you sit back in your chair, and I'm going to just guide you through this for about 10 minutes. And I'm working with the questions on slide 24, but you don't have to look at those questions. You're just going to write in things on this little drawing that you've done. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is in the arrows inside the half circle, you're going to write in some concrete, positive, and possible goals. So if I want to have, think about your long-term, your more longer-term 1 or 2 year vision. And typically in the past we do it longer, but today I've just made it short. So just think about some of the things you said you wanted to have in your life over the next couple of years. Now, right, if you only are focusing on the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months, what could you have done? Something concrete. So for example, in mine that's on the wall, part of my vision was I wanted to be focusing on my health. And so I said, I have strong bones and joints, and I'm able to, as a positive and possible goal, I have strong bones and joints, and I'm able to enjoy my travels and my adventures, and I'm pain-free. So that's what I wrote as a positive possible goal. Another one was around getting more comfortable with sea kayaking, because I wanted to be spending more time on the sea. So as a goal, I wrote, I'm comfortable and confident with my sea kayak and the sea, because the sea can be quite intimidating. If any of you have ever taken a boat on a sea, the sea changes a lot. So I want you to take a minute now just to write in some very tangible things that point you or get you closer to your vision, and write them in 1 or 2 of the arrows. If you have time to do 3, go ahead. I'm just going to give you a minute to do that. And it says, though it's happened, I've traveled to such and such a place to see my family, or I've invited, friends over for 3 dinner events because I really miss my friends. Or I've hired a personal trainer. That's how concrete you want to be here. And don't worry about getting it right. We're just practicing right now. Deliberately giving a bit of a longer pause so you can write a few more things. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat and we can help sure about how to do this. And if some of you are ready, you can move over to the far left side of your arrow and just quickly dot down 3 or 4 things that are in your current life right now that will help or hinder you from getting to your goals, those positive possible goals. For example, I wrote in mine, I love living by the sea in my new city, Victoria. My knees have been hurting. I'm immersing myself in the science of climate change. So those are just some things that I put about what is my actual situation right now. So write down pluses and minuses of your situation right now. You won't be asked to share these, so just put it whatever is relevant. I'll give you about a minute to do that. So you've gone over to the far left and you put in maybe 3 or 4. Check whether your phrases include both plus and minus, like not all good things nor all negative things. Like, oh yeah, I didn't eat healthy for the last 3 months. Well, just you can say, yeah, I've been eating less healthily. But then the next one might be, but I've been walking more. I've been walking 5 or 6 kilometers a day. The next column is who could help you get closer to your goals and your vision. For example, I put a woman I know is very, very smart about biodiversity, climate change, and she's also what we call in English a birder, which means that she loves birds. She knows birds. She's the best bird watcher I've ever met, and she can discover hundreds of species just on this island or off the coast in the city of Vancouver. And so I put down, well, I'm going to enroll this woman as somebody who can help me get more familiar with birds of this area, because I've never lived in this area of Canada before. And I'm going to use the birds as my inspiration for staying in climate change work, because I love birds. I've always loved birds ever since I was a child. I want to know them more. I want to know the species here. And they will show me, how well the biodiversity is doing. So who can you enroll? Just write down 3 or 4 names. And if you don't know the name, you put down an accountant or, someone who can help me market my business, someone who can teach me how to do TikTok videos, somebody who can help me get a podcast started, or it might be a parent or partner, a pet. The next thing that you're going to fill in is, what do you need to strengthen? And by that, we mean any skills or knowledge or attitude to get you closer to your goals and your vision. And I wrote, I need to strengthen my courage to be able to reach out to Indigenous leaders who are doing climate change work, because it's not something that I automatically have a lot of relationships with Indigenous peoples in Canada. I used to, but I haven't, because I haven't been here for 20 years. So I need to figure out how to get their confidence and trust in me as a white person working with them and honoring what they're doing in the field. And then I also said I need to strengthen my energy levels, because I've been feeling more tired lately. And I want to strengthen my bird observation skills. And I want to lengthen and deepen my yoga and meditation practice. So those are a couple of examples. So go ahead and fill that out. One thing we don't think about too much when strengthening is about our attitude, but I know I was feeling very discouraged about the reading I've been doing about climate change and climate disaster. And So I wanted to become more hopeful. So I wanted to strengthen my hopefulness. And so I've been attending webinars now. Yesterday, I attended one on hope around climate change. It was very inspiring. And so think of an attitude that you might want to strengthen. And then I'm going to take you through one or two more steps. And I know I'm moving you very quickly. So feel free to know that if you like this tool, you can come back to it more thoroughly. But in the tip of the arrow, where the little green clouds are, just draw a couple of clouds if that's helpful, or you can just do, lines or quick phrases. Something you could do in the next 3 to 4 months to get to your 1 year goals. I said 12 to 6 months because I'm making this time frame shorter than usual, but something you could, that's kind of like a mini step to get to your longer goals and your longer vision. So I said I've attended gym and yoga classes 3 times a week. That's what I'm doing now. It's a 3, I could get up to that in the next 3 to 4 months. I'm going to visit with this person who's so good at watching birds. I'm going to register for one art class that has to do with art and the sea. So I need to find that, but I will have at least registered for a class in the next 3 to 4 months. So again, they're mini steps that get you closer to the much bigger goal and or vision. But they force your mind to become more and more concrete. And that's what we try to do as facilitators for groups as well. Some of you work much more quickly than others, so I'm going to ask who would be willing to share their experience of the path out loud with us. So we'll share on some slides, but my question would be, what part of the path was challenging for you? So who would be willing to open their mic and share what we just did, the 3 or 4 steps we went through together? And I'm not seeing hands, but just open your mic. Part of the path was challenging.
Hi, Barbara.
Yes.
Actually, it's the questions. So mostly we know what we want, we know what we need to do, right? But the question is there anything in the path that will help us to review, to monitor, to make it on track? So all the action plan that we put it there. This is my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to answer it the way I think you asked it, and if I didn't get the question correctly, then please correct me. But what I will often do is, once I've got this piece of paper that I usually put on a big piece of paper, I'll go back every month or so, and I'll tick off. I'll literally put a check mark of things that are starting to happen. So like it might be beside one of my positive and possible goals or a piece of my vision. Oh, wow, I just did this amazing conference on climate change. Oh yeah, and I'll write in the actual date. So I'll actually write on my path what's happening. And then I'll keep it up. I'll keep it on the wall or somewhere where I see it for about 3 weeks after it's been done. And that way I'm constantly reminding myself, oh yeah, I said I would do this, or I want, or no, that didn't work out that way, but I could see that this other action has really helped me, and so I'll write it down. So I'm keeping myself accountable by one, having it visual, and actually literally going back and ticking things off that are happening, or putting X's beside things that aren't happening, maybe doing a little journaling on it. How did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, great, thanks, June. So in the next few slides, 26,
Barbara?
27. Yes. Oh yeah, another question. Great.
Nidhi had her hand up as well.
Great. Let's hear from Nidhi.
Yeah, I had the same question. So it was the same as Milana, and it was like path process, as I look at it, is like ongoing, as in the name itself is the path we go on going with the life, and we have changed goals or strengths. Maybe people suddenly we realize, okay, we meet somebody and then we realize that, okay, so this kind of person I want to have who can help me, and then suddenly it gives you a new perspective. So that is like an ongoing process, and so what we need to do, and you answer that exactly.
I love Nidhi that you shared that it's path, right? Yeah, that's beautiful, and thank you for noticing that. I hadn't even thought of that, so that's beautiful. Anybody else have a question or a comment? Otherwise, we would like you to answer the questions on slide 25, but go into slide 26, 27, or 28 and just choose a cell and answer any or all of the questions here. What was challenging about it, and knowing that it's a 2-hour process, and I gave you about 20 minutes. What was helpful or insightful so far? What will you do next to get the most out of this tool, and any other comments you have? So feel free to jot your answers down and on one of the slides, 26 to 28. And if you're having trouble putting stuff in the Google slide, please just put it in tell us which question you're answering. Chunking, yeah, that's a good answer. Good word, chunking goals. The path process it starts like many. You start with the vision, and I think I had you do a little bit of I did a good little guided visualization. We have someone in the waiting room. Yeah, great. Hoping that you could use that, what you came out of the guided visualization, as the beginning of your path, but please add to it. But it starts with the visualization. But what's a little different from some of the planning processes that I use mostly with groups is it goes straight to positive and possible goals right after the vision. And then it looks at the now, whereas quite often I'll start with the now, and then I'll go to the vision, and then I'll start breaking it down into, what's not going so well, what I need to strengthen. So the steps are maybe a little different order than you may use for other planning processes. But I've used this enough to know it works really well. And when you don't have a lot of time to do like a full strategic plan, this can be a great Kickstarter for groups, just as it's a Kickstarter for you as a personal participant. So I know some of you are still answering those questions. I'll give you another minute to do that. Well, now we'll have time to just take a quick look at a third tool. Thank you for your patience with putting so much in one webinar. Great answers. I love it. Well, maybe before, when we send this to you as a PDF of the finished slides, we can just make the words smaller so that it fits on the slide. Somebody said determining real goals versus wishful thinking ones. Yeah, you get better and better. And that's what I would say. That's why it's really important to do this, because you want groups to be able to do that too. And so once you be able to figure out how to do that for yourself, that, these really realistic goals versus, goals are always wishful in a way. They're stretching you, but they're not stretching you so far that you couldn't possibly do them. And they have to be very grounded in a vision. So the more you do these planning processes with yourself, the better you'll get at doing it with groups and really helping them come up with plans that are very realistic and very easy. Not necessarily very easy, but more likely to be implemented. Okay, so I'm going to let you finish your last thought. And for those who are ready, turn to slide 29. So many of you may not ever get a hold of this workbook, but I decided that many years ago that I would invest in it. And it's just this giant thing I've got here, and it's, you can see how big it is. And it's got all these exercises in it. So I'm going to show you one exercise that I really like as a kind of a personal assessment tool. But if you go to the next slide, 30, you'll see it's got a piece on your starting point, orient your situation. And maybe what I'll do is I'll show you some of the pages so that you can imagine it. And so this is like, it's just got some really nice graphics. Your starting point. This is like, what's my focus question? What are my uncertainties? What's most important? And then these quadrants: who's involved? Where I came from? What's pressing? What's calling me? There's just some interesting questions to answer. So that's an exercise, a starting point. I really like that one. And then you can do like a little timeline. And I highly recommend doing a timeline of your life. It's really, really very, very enlightening to map out the events of your life and go, oh, that's why I'm currently looking towards facilitation, or that's why I'm really good at this piece, or whatever. But the piece that I really want to show you is called the cross section. So if you turn to slide 31, and I like cross sections. I think most people do. I mean, it's basically it's evaluating how you spend your time. And you can see from this slide that it's a wedge, and they had it you do it just like a day, but I find it much more helpful to turn it into a whole week. And so I said that each wedge was about 5 hours. And when you do this page, you map out how you're spending your time, and then you answer these questions. So what's working about this, the way I spend my time? And then what would I like to change? And then down here, you've got, what are my resources to change? What motivates me? What replenishes me? So there's some questions there. And I'll show you a little bit of a graph of how it worked out for me. So on slide 32, I could only find a full pie graph in Excel. So this is my before life. This is way back. And then how I wanted it to be after. So I was spending, average work week, 40 hours, socializing with like my family and my friends and taking care of people and stuff like that. And then I had 20 hours. And then this gray part of the pie was, I call it counseling. It's actually a practice where you listen to each other and you learn to be very good listeners. I know this is a skill that I wanted to develop as a facilitator, but I also found that it was a skill that helped me stay extremely concentrated and focused. But I was doing a lot of it, 20 hours a week, and that just when I saw that, oh my gosh, that's a lot of time. It's called peer counseling. Or I was doing about 10 hours of volunteer. That seemed okay. Commuting, I was spending 10 hours a week in my car and or public transit, just getting to some of my co-counseling sessions and or my work or whatever. And I thought, oh, this is just not what I want. But I was only getting 5 hours a week of exercise. And that was less than an hour a day. And I know that might feel like enough for some people, but it definitely, I've always liked to be very physically active. It's been really important to me. So then I decided that I needed to cut back on some things. So my after screen is, let's cut back the work a bit. Let's increase the social time because that's really important to me. Let's cut my peer counseling way back because and let's cut my commuting way back and get in more exercise. So that's closer to what I was working towards. And so I'm going to ask you to take a minute to draw a slice on slide 33. And, thinking about all these goals and everything like that might be helpful too, but divide your week into 21 pie slices, and every slice is 5 hours. To think about how much time, and you'll just do this approximately because I'm not going to give you a lot of time, but you can just draw it out and then use some shading markers or color markers and think, well, okay, I probably do work about 40 hours a week and I probably do volunteer. And it's think whatever categories are helpful to you, but clearly you'll have probably work, community, family, friends, self-care, whatever, those kinds of categories. So take a minute to do that. Draw out your 21 sections, knowing each one's 5 hours. Up kind of a week productive time. This is based on like about 15-hour days. Clearly, some of your time will be focused on just waking up and grooming and stuff. And I know that most of us are up more like 16 or 18 hours, but this is based on a 15-hour productive hour day. So Christina, we will have a little bit of time to put people in breakout rooms. If you could randomly put people in room 3 per room and give them about 5 minutes total, 1 minute comeback time, countdown time. So just start with the biggest things in your life. Might even be like preparing meals or looking after my parents, kids, driving to school, taking my kids to school, my graduate studies, whatever, my professional development hours. And then when you look at it the whole week, you go, oh, that's pretty good. Or no, I think I'd like to change how much time I spend on some things. So another 2 or 3 minutes to complete, or not complete, or at least get somewhere started on your cross section. breakout rooms a little bit longer, but no worries. Is everyone back now? It seems like I think everyone's back in the main room, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think some left.
I
Maybe
think we're
there
all
is
back.
confusion.
There were 19 of
Okay.
us.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. So just to finish off and to finish on time, I was hoping that you would answer the questions on slide 36. Insights you're living with, what do you want to change? What do you want to keep doing? What do you want to drop? And that would be related to any of the exercises we did today. I know that you're just beginning the thinking process, but hopefully some of you will take some more time today or in the next week or so to come back to a piece that intrigued you. So go ahead and take a minute to answer on slides 36 and 37. We probably won't need slide 38. And I always welcome people just to share out loud as well too. That's kind of nice for people to hear, especially on the recording.
Hi, Barbara.
Yes.
Yes. So I think I have a questions which perhaps someone else also have a questions. So on your example on the one that you give color to, right? It's
Cross
section.
section.
Yeah. And sometimes you put the color full until the top, and sometimes you put the color only in the middle. So what does it mean? Is there any meaning to that?
That's a really good question. It's been a long time since I did that particular one, but I'm gonna show you again. And you're right. And so I think it was as I thought about it, where I'm fulfilled and where I'm not fulfilled. So the work was sort of half fulfilling, and the time with my family was very fulfilling, and the peer counseling was half fulfilling. With my volunteer work was extremely fulfilling. My commuting was marginally fulfilling. My exercises was barely fulfilling. So I think that's what it was, is my own little rating of how fulfilling those things were in my life at that moment in time. Thank you for asking that. I'd forgotten about that.
Thank you for sharing.
The many ways that you can use the tools, obviously.
Barbara, if you,
Yes.
if I may ask, on the path process, I just missed that 1 minute thing. On the path process, the first column was named now. I
Yes.
just like what it was. I just missed that. But
Yes, I'll explain it again. It's basically, we use in facilitation, we use the phrase current reality. What is going on now? The pluses and minuses of your life right now that will help you get closer to, or stop you from getting closer to, your goals and vision. And so I gave some examples, and my now is like, I live in Victoria. I live by the sea. I love living in the city now. That's a plus, right? And then I also wrote down, my knees are hurting. It's actually, sometimes it's painful to walk and to do kayaking. So I need to do something about that. So that's a negative towards getting to one of my goals of, being pain-free. So you're trying to think of all the aspects of your life and community, or like, I'm spending 5 hours a week, with this volunteer group. And that's a negative because it's too much. And then I'm working 18-hour days and having to get up at 4 a.m. That kind of thing is what you would write down in the call.
okay.
Do you have any more questions about that, or?
No, thank you.
Okay. And so, yeah, you can feel free. We do have a question and answer section on slide 40. And we're filling that out, slide 39 and 40. And if we could just screen share slide 34, 30, can't read my, but it's 37 and 38, sorry. Screen share those. I'm wondering if one of my co-facilitators, Danny, would you be able to read out some of the insights in the first column on the left, please? Are you there, Danny?
Anyone want to share on this column about insights?
Oh, I was just seeing if you would read out.
I'll just read it out. Okay, so it's
Just
a
read it out.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's a feeling that thinking about self-life is also confusing. So much I don't know about myself. Okay, and start with an end vision, but path starts with now. That's the current reality. Anybody else want to add a few things? So this is a session I never knew I needed. Okay. The collage helped me to visualize the future. The path also allows me to set up the actions and steps. The cross-section helps me a lot to evaluate my priorities in each week. And having someone else ask questions can result to powerful new insights.
Great.
Interesting.
Thank you so much, Danny, for reading those out. Not many people have filled in the question of what do I want to drop? And that could be related. Somebody, I want to drop any insecurities dealing with challenges. Yeah, I would certainly like that too.
There's a question in the chat box, Barbara.
Yeah.
Why 21 sections and 5 hours?
All right. Yeah. Let me just go back to that chat, see if I can see it. I explained it, but probably not very well. So if you add up the week, if you do, let's say we're awake for we're kind of awake and productive for 15 hours a day times 7 days. That's 105 hours. So 21 times 5 is 21 sections times 5 hours equals 105 hours of productive time per week. That's based on 15 waking productive hours per day. That's just a little crazy math. I mean, you could, if you always have, instead of 15 hours days, and I was kind of giving an hour, typically most of us are up about 17 hours. We have 17-hour days. If we're getting 7 hours of sleep, we're actually in bed for 7 hours. But there's sort of an hour here and there, where 2 hours that we're using for mealtime and getting up and grooming. And I just eliminated those and just 15 hours per day. That's not related to eating and grooming. How are you spending it? But you could do it any way you wished. Well, our time is up, so I want to just thank you so much for your patience, for being here. I want to thank you, Lydia, for inviting me. Kak Lydia.
Thank you so much.
And I want to celebrate my co-facilitators who met this week and did some homework and prepared, and we're here to help with the breakout rooms because we didn't know how many people would actually show up, and just wanted to be prepared for a bigger crowd. So thank you so much to everyone who participated and helped and attended.
Thank you so much, Barbara. It's such a huge goodie bag for us to complete, right? And I'd like to thank to everyone, especially those who are coming far away, Brunda and Mindy, Party, who stayed. And I know that this is going to be a next connecting journey for us between you and the Indonesian IAF Indonesia, and Marcellus and Yuki and Eileen and everyone. I know that this is rainy days and thunders everywhere, I think in some cities. So people are not available for us to be on cam. But again, thank you so much. I'll see you soon in the next program, I guess, Barbara. I hope you
yes, in our cohort. Yes, yeah.
Lydia,
rest of the day. Yes.
should we take a picture?
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, that's gonna be, you know, a very momentous picture for us, right? To start our journey, each of one of us. Christy, can we have everyone on cam just for a few seconds? Eileen, Yudi. Okay. Christina, you can do that too.
Kadani, your video was blinking.
I don't know what happened.
No, it's good. It's good now.
It went on and on and
now.
on.
Yeah.
So
Good for the
it's going
picture
to be
now.
the picture.
All right, should I count? All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh no, Mas Danny's
no,
video is
Danny,
blinking
oh,
again.
It happened again.
I think I managed to take one good one, but
Now we can edit.
thanks everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a,
Thanks, everyone. Have a very good weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thank you,
Bye.
Barbara, Lydia, and all of you, everyone. Thank you.
Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara, Lydia.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome,
Thank you,
awesome.
everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all.